described that content is king. And the reason that it's king, or the reason why it's so important, is probably more important than anything else on your website. So no matter how awesome your website is designed, no matter what brilliant SEO that you have, no matter how many people you're pulling into your website for your various marketing channels, so if you're doing email marketing, if you're on LinkedIn catching prospects, if you're sending out direct mail, they're all coming back to your website. And you have an extremely limited time to get their attention. And the way that you get their attention, you can do it with video, but more than likely, when people land on a website, they're going to be reading text. That's what they expect to see immediately. And only if they're interested, they're going to actually switch to video. So it's extremely important that you gain that attention as quickly as possible. I think the stat on the web is you have literally like 3 seconds to get someone's attention when they land on your website. Otherwise, they're just going to bounce off back to wherever they came from. So that's one of the reasons it's so important. The other one is because it can affect your bottom line. Now, certainly with online businesses, transactional businesses where there's specifically e-commerce and things like that, and particular types of products, it can affect your bottom line, but it will affect your conversion ratio as well. So if you have, say, for example, 100 people coming to your site, and if your copy is spot on, okay, if it's is the best it can be, you'll find that your conversions will increase. So that 100 people, you might get 20% people converting. They'll be filling in the form, they'll be picking up the phone, or they'll want to find out more about your business. So it can affect your bottom line copyright. And I've seen this myself in action on the IT Rockstars website. And the third thing that's equally as important as those other two things is the attraction element and the rejection element. So with the copyright and with the text that's on your website, you can attract certain types of individuals. You can also reject certain types of, not individuals, certain types of businesses. So depending on how you master your copywriting, you're going to be able to attract a quality type of client, the type of client that you want to get, and you're able to repel other types of clients, other types of businesses that you really don't want, okay? And there's ways to do that, and that attraction element, that's probably something that we're gonna have to do at a later date. These are the basics that I'm going to show you here, and there are 10 rules. They are specifically lifted from the newest book that I wrote. It's called Video Marketing for MSPs. You can see that here. This is available on Amazon. There's a whole chapter dedicated to copyright, and a lot of what you're going to see here is actually within this. So let me get into rule number 1. So this is my brother eating pizza. This is way back. This is a Pizza Hut in Glasgow, Scotland, and we used to, we were probably in our teenage years, probably around about 12, 13. We discovered pizza, and we used to eat it all the time. So this is a pan pepperoni pizza, probably with hot chilies on it. But that's not what we're talking about. So instant clarity headlines. So this is a bit like your elevator pitch. So if you've ever done any business networking, your elevator pitch, you've probably got one mastered. Well, it's similar to your elevator pitch on your homepage. Or on a landing page on your site, potentially one of your service pages. You need an instant clarity headline, and it immediately explains what you do and how you do it. So good examples of this: hot, fresh pizza delivered to your door in 30 minutes. That's obviously one of the most famous instant clarity headlines that you'll see. They have probably, I've not actually heard that in the UK, that headline, but that's what I believe Domino's used to use, and they probably still do in the States, and that 30-minute guarantee. Another one, this is one taken from IT Rockstars website: generating qualified MSP leads every month without cold calling or networking. Okay, so the formula behind that instant clarity headline, this is the bit where you don't have to be a master copywriter. You can use the formula. So mention the result that your customer desires. And I can't state this enough about all of your copy that you do. Everything you write on your website has to be about your customers. Never use the terminology I or we, okay? Unless you're going into something specific but always make it about them, okay? So you or your, but mention the result or desire your customer wants. So have a really hard think about what are the main desires that your customer wants, your end user. Now, when I wrote the instant clarity headline for IT Rockstars, the biggest pain point I had was trying to get qualified leads. Okay, that was the biggest thing. When I finally got a business to speak to about their IT, that was fine, but it was that was the biggest pain point I had. And that obviously is the desire as well. So it's solving that pain point. That's how I came up with mine. So have a really hard think about what is the desire. So someone that's looking to switch IT provider, or if you're trying to convince them that their data, it needs to be safer than it already is, what is that desire? And then the other piece of this is mention how you're going to solve that within a specific time frame and address any objections that they encounter, okay? So that's the instant clarity headline. I would suggest that you maybe come up with 3 or 4 instant clarity headlines and pick the best one. Rule number 2, declare the problem. And this is getting into pretty much the teachings of Dan Kennedy. So he has his formula, and it's not actually explained here, is the first thing that you do in any of your sales copy is that you declare what the problem is. So what is the problem that your prospect, your potential customer, what is the main issue that they have? Declare that problem, okay? And it has to be about them. So in the examples that I've got here, loss of confidence with current IT supplier, that is relatively a common reason why businesses move to new IT suppliers. They could have had a ransomware or a security breach, or maybe they've lost data, maybe their backups haven't been working. These are the very common ones. Excessive downtime, and the other one I've got here is shopping and changing the lead engineer. So, I've seen this myself, where there's usually an engineer dedicated to a customer, that engineer really knows the infrastructure well, knows the user base well, and can go in there and fix a problem fairly quickly. But then when the new engineer comes in, or the second line guy comes in, and the third line guy has to go to the higher priority client, then that chopping and changing can really irritate a customer, and that can be a reason for change. So have a think about the main problems that a potential customer has, and this feeds into the attraction element as well. So you can speak in those problems of particular types of problems that you solve. Okay, so I'm trying to give you an example of this. So it could be that you're really good at fixing a ransomware issue, or recovering a client and instilling confidence in systems. Then that would be the problem that you would sort of declare in your copy. Now, this is obviously quite difficult on an IT business website or an MSP website, because you probably have multiple problems. Okay, so you have the backup, there's the security, there's just the IT services thing as well. So you really have to go with from the homepage perspective anyway, you really need to hone in and pick your leading product, your leading service, and that usually is the managed services. Obviously, times are changing, so it could be more down the security side of things. Number 3, so getting back to Dan for a second here, his formula, problem, and then you agitate the problem. So this is the bit before rule 3, where you basically have an emotional agitation. So you declare what the problem is, but then you emotionally agitate the problem. And the way that you do that is put yourself in your customer's mind. So maybe they're held to ransom. Okay, so how would they feel? So in your copy, you want to reflect that feeling. Okay, and that's you agitating their problem in your copy. And then finally, rule 3, you present your solution. So the example I've got here is, we fill your sales pipeline, say goodbye to irregular referrals, and say hello to predictable sales growth. Okay, that's taken from the IT Rockstars website. That is our solution. So your core solution or service should be front and center, and then, in as little text as possible. Rule number 4,